What's going on, guys? It's October here. I'm just on the beta playing around on my Demon Hunter. I thought I'd do a bit of a guide because I feel like a lot of people are playing the class wrong at the moment. Um, this class is pretty strong. It's not the best tank, but I feel like it's mid-tier. I feel like it's just under warriors and bears, but it's above monks and paladins in my opinion. All tanks are viable for raiding in Legion, but I feel like some tanks do stand out when it comes to Mythic Plus, and when you're trying to clear Mythics in the high progression. Our main generator for pain is Shear. Basically just attacks them, does okay damage, and sometimes shatters a lesser soul. I'll show you what it looks like here. I see there's a little shadow there. When we consume them, it heals us, which is something I'll talk about a bit later. It also works well with our abilities. So yeah, it basically just gives us little fragments, plus gives us a way to generate pain for other abilities. The next ability I want to talk about is Soul Cleave, which is our main spender. As you can see, after I build up some pain and a soul fragment, I use this and it consumes them, which also heals me. It heals me for a base amount, but it also heals me for extra, depending on how many soul fragments were consumed. I want to note that you can only bank up to 5 lesser fragments at once, but and they all get consumed as soon as you soul cleave. That's something you want to be wary about. You don't really want to be soul cleaving on max health when you're in early progression and trying to maximize your healing and survivability. So that's one thing to be careful for. So as you can see, I got one, a soul cleave, it consumes it. The next ability I want to talk about is Immolation Aura. It's quite a nice little bit of AoE. Basically, you do damage, you do damage over 6 seconds, but you also do damage on the first hit. You can see here, I engulf myself with flames, dealing ticking damage. It's pretty good for AoE situations. It's nothing too amazing, but it's nice little AoE. It's also want to note that it's fire damage, which goes with the artifact quite well. The next cooldown I would like to talk about is Firebrand, which basically makes us take 40% less damage from the target. As you can see, you can target the person, and they will do 40% less damage to me. It's quite strong. It's also a talent that goes with it that makes it even better. But it's probably one of our strongest because it doesn't matter which type of damage it is, can be physical or magical, and it will reduce any. The next ability I want to talk about is Throw Glaive, which basically just throws at the target. It's sort of like the lightning from monks have, the lightning. It's nothing amazing, it's not too strong, it just gives us quite nice AoE threat. We can use this and gain threat on pull. It's also great for when we're in ad fights and you need to pull ads closer to you because it gives you a nice sort of threat. Next I want to talk about our cooldowns. The first one being Empowered Wards, which reduces the magic damage we take by 30% for 6 seconds. It doesn't cost anything to pass, so we can just use it at any point. Note that it does not work with haste, so that's a big problem. But if you can use this plus Fiery Brand, we are pretty safe from magic damage, plus the self-healing we have. So we are pretty good when it comes to magic damage, but we're not as good as bears. The next ability I'd like to talk about is Demon Spikes, which is a physical damage reduction for 6 seconds. It goes with our mastery, which I'll talk about soon, but basically it's just a reduction from physical damage. It also works with haste too. It is very strong. I believe that we could be the best tank when it comes to physical fights, due to Demon Spikes being such a low cooldown and our mastery being able to buff it up at any point. Next we have Metamorphosis. It transforms us into a demon, increasing our maximum health by 30% for 15 seconds. It also generates 7 pain every second. It's pretty much our oh crap button, I've messed up, I need a heal. As you can see, it gives us max health. It looks quite cool, and we also generate pain, so we can use that to heal back up. Alright, so the next ability I want to talk about is Soul Carve. It does quite a lot of damage, but also it shatters lesser fragments. Basically, it's something that I like to use quite often. I usually use it on pull. Let's pop it. Try not to pull them in. but get quite a lot. Also goes quite well with Soul Cleave. Also works quite well with Soul Barrier, which is one of our talents. Pull them all in. It's great. It works well if you're in a situation where you know you're going to take a lot of damage next and you don't have many soul fragments up. You can just pop that, take the damage, and then heal back up quite quickly. Next, we can talk about our sigils. We have 3 different sigils, which sort of work like banners. Um, Basically, put them on the ground, and an effect happens. We have 3. We have Sigil of Silence, Sigil of Flame, and Sigil of Misery. Sigil of Silence basically silence everyone in that spot. It makes them silence for 6 seconds. Sigil of Flame basically does fire damage to everyone in the area. It's quite well with our talents, but it's just extra damage really. The last one is Sigil of Misery. Basically fears everyone in that area. As soon as they're attacked, they are unfeared, sadly. But it is quite good if you accidentally pull too many adds. You can fear them, and then if hopefully no one in the DPS in the back attacks them, and you can keep them feared while you kill off the rest. Alright, so let's talk about our talents. In our first row, we have Razor Spikes, which when we're using Demon Spikes, it gives us 20% damage from our melee attacks. Also, our melee attacks also snare targets fit by 50% for 6 seconds. Next, we have Agonizing Flames. Immolation Aura increases our movement speed. Also does extra damage. It's pretty good in AoE situations. I do like Razor Spikes just for the extra 20% damage, but you can also take this while doing Mythic Plus and you want the extra movement speed. Our last one in our 99 talent row is Abyssal Strike, which makes our Inferno Strike range increase and also reduces the cooldown. So if you don't know, Inferno Strike is basically our jump. We can use it to get around. It's pretty good. Probably use that in fights where you need to move around quite a lot. Say take Iron Reaver for an example. You might take that just for the extra leap range so you can get out when you're tanking. The next row is level 100 talents. You have Burning Alive. Every 2 seconds, Fiery Brand deals extra fire damage and spreads from the primary target to nearby enemies. This is also great because not only do everyone in the area take AoE damage, but also, if you remember, you take 40% less damage from that target. So if you're in a situation where you need to tank probably 3 or 4 adds at once and you're getting trucked, basically you can put this Fiery Brand on for the next 6 seconds. They'll all do 40% less damage to you. So this is why I think it's quite strong. Fallout is also very good. The initial burst has a chance to shatter lesser soul fragments. This one I thought was too RNG for my liking. You can take that in AoE situations as well, but I feel like it's not as strong as Burning Alive. Our next one is Feast of Souls, which Soul Cleave heals us for an initial 80% over 6 seconds. It's a nice little hot to put on yourself. I feel like it's probably what you'll take in single target situations. These two aren't the greatest in single target, so you'll definitely be switching out to this one as single target. Okay, so in our 102 talents, we have some DPS. Basically DPS. They're not going to really help us in any situation really. Fellow Eruption is probably the best when it comes to being utility. Basically empowers them doing okay damage. It also stuns them for 2 seconds. If you use it on a boss, it just does extra 100% damage. Next we have Flame Crash. Basically just does our flame sigil. Does this on landing from when we do our Inferno Strike. It basically does that. It's okay. We might take that in AoE situations. Probably not. I feel like it's probably not the greatest. But you never know. Next we have Fellblade, which we charge the target, dealing extra damage. It's okay, it gives us an extra way to get the closest to someone, but it's nothing that we really need to worry about. I do want to add though, it does get affected by haste, and also she has a chance to reset the cooldown. Basically it's just an extra ability press and rotation for extra damage, and generates an extra bit of pain. Next we have our 104 talents. Soul Rendering. Basically gives us 50% leech while metamorphosing. It's okay if you think you need to heal while in metamorphosis. I feel like we don't need it that much while in metamorphosis. This might be okay in a situation where your healers are dead and you need to self-heal a bit more, but I think our kit already has so much self-healing that it's not necessary to take this in any situations. We'll find out in Legion if we do ever take it. The next is Feed the Demon. Consuming a soul fragment reduces the remaining cooldown of demon spikes by 1%. This is going to be quite good when we have a lot of banked up soul fragments and we have no charges left. Basically we can pop this and it reduces the damage, it reduces the cooldown. It can reduce it by half the cooldown sometimes, so it's quite strong. Our 106 bro is all sigil based. The first one is all sigils activate 1 second faster. This cooldown is reduced by, and the cooldown is reduced by 20%. This is pretty good if you're in mythic dungeons or in a raid that actually needs your sigils. It can be extremely good for your utility, but I don't think it'll be taken that often. Next we have sigil chains, which is like a mini Gorfian's grass. Basically, you put it on the ground, everything in that big circle will be pulled together. Obviously this guy can't be pulled because it's on the wall, but basically everything pulled in and movement speed is reduced. Next we have consecrated sigils. All sigils are now targeted at your location and their duration is increased by 2 seconds. This is pretty good for packs that you need to silence and get their silence for longer, but I think most of the time you'll probably take chains, especially in big ad fights where you want multiple ads together. First talent is Spirit Bomb. You launch a nearby soul fragment at your target, dealing X damage, inflicting them with a debuff, and we heal for 10% of the damage that person has if they have the debuff. This is pretty good self-healing due to the fact that it's on an instant cooldown. Next we have Blade Tuning. Parrying an attack increases the pain generation of your next shear by 50%. Basically just gives us extra pain regeneration. It's not too great. I don't think you'll take this very often because parrying isn't very reliable. So I wouldn't be taking this very often. Next we have Fell Devastation, which is my favorite talent out of all the ones we have. Unleashing Fell within you, dealing damage and also healing yourself for so much. It's also good to note that it's a channeled cast. I'll show you what it looks like. As you can see there, it looks quite cool and you heal yourself. It's quite good to use when you're pretty low in health and you don't have too many soul fragments up. Our last row is 1010, which is survivability. First one we have a soul barrier. Shields yourself for 8 seconds, absorbing 300 damage and consuming fragments. You also get a shield for how many fragments that have been consumed. This works really well with Soul Carve. Basically you use a Soul Carve on your target, wait for your things come out, and then you press R, you consume more and you get a nice little shield. This works extremely well with banked up little lesser fragments, so it's something to keep in mind. So you might want to use this instead of Soul Cleave, so you get pretty much the same healing, a little bit less healing, but you get yourself a nice shield as well for the next 8 seconds, was it? Yeah. Next we have Nether Bond, where you bind yourself to a friendly target and you both share health. I don't really like this talent too much just because it's on a 2-minute cooldown compared to a 20-second cooldown. I have taken it in the past, but I find it's not as good. And I didn't really find any situations where I extremely liked it. Our last talent is Last Resort. Basically, when we take fatal damage, we turn into Metamorphosis and get 30% of a health back. It works similar to Cheat Death, where we just, if we're about to die, we don't die. And basically, yeah, it's okay if you know you're gonna die in a fight, but I really do prefer Soul Barrier because you can use it more often, and if you know you're not gonna die because you have barriers up, I think it's a lot better. Alright guys, now let's talk about our artifact. So our starting point on the artifact is Soul Carve. It just gives us an extra ability, which I've already spoke about. After that we have to go up, which takes us to Tormented Souls. It's just extra damage. It's not too bad. You usually get that pretty early while leveling, so it's okay to extra damage while leveling. After that, I decided to go down and take Shattered Souls. Reason being, the extra healing while I was under 50% health. It shatters lesser souls more often while under 50% health, which just helps me be able to do bigger pulls whilst leveling and whatnot. You don't have to take this. I just decided to take it just for the extra healing. After that, I took Inferno Force, which is just extra AoE damage. The reason I actually took it is because I wanted to get to the big golden trait, and this was the quickest way. Devour Souls, extra healing, which is nice. Will of the Iridari, it only gives us 3% max health now. Before, it was 10% before the nerfs. So that's okay. Extra 3% is fine. It's nothing special. But when we're, getting okay health, it isn't pretty nice. After that, you have increased damage by shear by 3%, and then you have the big golden trait, which is the reason why I went down this way. You heal for 15% of the fire damage you deal. Doing fire damage is quite a lot of our damage. We have fire damage here, fire damage here, fire damage here, our jumps fire damage. We have a lot of abilities to do fire damage. So just getting extra healing, and the healing is quite a big part of our kit, so just having the extra healing is so good to keep yourself topped up while in fights. Also, after you take a big hit, you get that extra healing from the fire damage you might be doing. One thing I do want to note is that from the two ways you can go, this way is more of a DPS way, and this way is more of a survivability. So I'll go on to talk about that. So if you look down here, you can see that it gives you extra agility, which is obviously damage, and then fiery damage increases damage, and then so it's more of a damage way. I don't recommend taking this way early, due to the fact that we are quite spiky and squishy in early dungeons. I do recommend going through this way, getting the golden trait, and then going back up and getting these ones, because the survivability from all these is great. The extra time on Fiery Brand is what I spoke about before, about Fiery Brand being one of our greatest cooldowns. The parry chance, yeah, it's not so great, but I definitely recommend going back up and getting these. After that, we got defensive spikes, which is just extra parry chance, which is nothing amazing, but it's okay. And increased maximum health granted when metamorphosis. That's nothing amazing. 5%. It goes up to 15. It's nothing amazing. I guess it helps us when we're close to dying and we just need the extra health. Each soul fragment consumed reduces damage taken. This is pretty strong, I will admit. The only problem with this is it kind of goes against the way we play, where we want to bank up our soul fragments. The only way I see this being so strong is when we have like 5 banked up, we soul barrier to get a nice big barrier, and then we also have the damage reduction from it. I'm not 100% sure what 3% of times 5 is. I'm not the greatest at maths, but I'm sure that's probably about 20%. And then, so it's not too bad. But then again, it's not something that we can have up all the time. So next, I want to talk about our stat priority. So all our stats from minor stats are really good for our class. We could honestly take any of them and do extremely well, but with that said, there is definitely ones that shine out better. First, we have crit strike, which just basically makes our heals a lot better. It also gives us more parry chance. It works really well with demon spikes, so we have quite a high amount of parry, which does make us do more damage, and also critting makes us more damage. I feel like if you want to do damage, you would take crit, but it's definitely not the best stat to take for survivability. Next, we have haste, which basically decreases the cooldowns of our spells. Some of them are extremely important, like demon spikes, reduces the cooldown of that. If you get a large amount of haste, you will pretty much be able to have demon spikes up 100%. Next, we have mastery. Our mastery is demon spikes reduces physical damage taken by initial 23%. It also gives us attack power. This is extremely good because when you have haste and mastery together, you're pretty much just going to have a nice avoidance shield up all the time, where you're taking little to none damage. The only downfall of taking mastery and haste is that we're very reliant on our cooldowns for magic resistance. Because the fact that Demon Spikes is only physical damage, we have to solely sit on our empowered wards and our fiery brand for those big magic hits. With that said though, we do find that Demon Spikes is extremely strong, and that will keep us alive until we do take those big hits. Versatility is our next stat. Versatility is extremely strong for us. It's something that you would want to get quite a lot of going into the first raid. Due to us not being able to mitigate a lot of magic damage constantly and only having cooldowns, we do take quite a lot, and there is a lot of magic damage in Legion. Not only does it decrease the damage we take, but also increases our heals, which is one massive part of our cooldowns and our active mitigation. Well, there you go. That's a quick look at this Demon Hunters for 7.0. I will put some gameplay at the end of this video so that we can go through it and have a look at how it's played. You can see me in action using my cooldowns for magic and physical damage and just running through some dungeons. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching, guys. Goodbye.